to Fanatically Correct. Brought to you by us, fans like you, but mostly us.
People are trying to pray. You're disturbing.
Father, forgive me. I am a worm. I have something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
In a dark corner of the world, three men will work together to bring you a podcast like no other. This is Fanatically Correct, where the fans, the geeks, and the nerds are always correct. With your host, MSK, Yo Peace, and Omega.
Well, yeah, before we start, we are Fanatically Correct. I am your host, Omega.
MSK.
Yo, peace.
We will be talking villains of sci-fi and fantasy is what we're going to try to focus on. And we'll start getting into it. We have an audience shout-out that probably doesn't know the difference between sci-fi, fantasy, and other movies, but go ahead, you were saying?
Yeah, I was watching on YouTube, and they grabbed the villain from Die Hard.
The first Die Hard.
Yeah.
So Professor Snape.
No, the German guy.
Hans Gruber,
yes.
that's the first Die Hard.
Okay. Yeah. And what they did was they spliced it up, and it's him doing the monologue with Bruce Willis, except they threw in all these other
villains,
movie characters.
Oh, that's cool.
And
so
that's
he's
a
like
thing?
doing like a demand about this, and then like so and so answering,
instead of Bruce Willis.
Instead of Bruce
So
Willis.
it's him and then someone else instead of Bruce Willis.
Like five or six different.
That's funny.
Heroes or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I'll
check that out. Yeah, because he has.
So they're all listening into the same conversation.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the actor who passed away. He was Professor Snape, which is not really a villain come the end of the Harry Potter franchise, that's actually one of the villains I'll talk about.
That's a fantasy villain.
Right,
Yeah.
because at one point they show what's this guy, Samuel Jackson.
He's one of them. He's in Die Hard 3.
Die Hard 3.
But Zeus.
He was in
but it was
the
a different
Negotiator.
Yes, and that's what they used.
Oh, the Negotiator on the walkie-talkie.
That's
funny.
That's a good movie.
And then, different things like that. So
the one thing I'll give about, and that's why they probably use it for the YouTube channel, is because Hans Gruber is like 80s villain, down the pack. Like all the one-liners, all the back and forth, all the it's like that's spot on. 80s, personified villain.
He's the personification of.
I'm sure like a lot of people like Die Hard is actually my favorite
sci-fi fantasy
Christmas movie.
or a time travel movie according to Ant-Man.
Yeah. So, but it really is my favorite. Like part one, Die Hard is I love Die Hard and I love that character, man. I do really feel like he is a villain.
He's a awesome villain.
By far.
I watch that movie every Christmas. I'm not lying.
No, and then it's the classic falling to your death.
No, and the way, and my favorite scene is obviously when he just switches to an American accent.
Yes.
Just to be like
a cowboy.
And what is it in Die Hard 3? Irons, right? Is it
Jeremy Irons?
Irons does the same. Does the same thing. Where suddenly he's like, from Toledo. Yeah, sure, but he does the same thing. They jump into American accent right away. Yeah, that's cool.
There's a good deleted scene in the third movie that you guys should check out. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah, not sci-fi or fantasy.
You can bring it up now.
No, we'll bring it up later.
We're doing villain sci-fi fantasy. I get. We're not going to do TV then.
What?
Try to stick to movies, I think.
Yeah,
or, you know what? We're just going to bring up. We're keeping it to sci-fi and fantasy, so we're not going to do comic book because then we're like that's just like.
I think we should bring up one that's not.
Well, I like your argument for that.
Not a cinematic not in the same world, I guess. If it's just a one-off, I think we.
Well, I'll give. If we want, we can start with that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to bring up Tim Burton's version of the Joker, but as a fantasy, the way that Tim Burton sets up that movie, it just looks like a twisted fairy tale type movie.
Yeah, no, especially that version of the Joker. You're right. It does feel like a fantasy because he's like a dark clown, which fits in Tim Burton's fantasy.
Yeah, it's like a whimsical, twisted world that he sets up. And all his movies. That's what makes it more of a fantasy. But he would be, I would say, one of the greater villains in movie history.
Yeah, I think that, and I'll give fair credit. I really don't like the Tim Burton movies, but I'll give it to Jack Nicholson's performance in that one. That I think he probably made and really opened the door for serious actors to want to start playing comic book villains especially.
Yeah.
Because the hero's always the easy giveaway, but villains is where everything's at, and I think that's like one of the first times you see like a real good actor step away and do a comic book villain,
especially someone popular like that. Jack Nicholson was a popular actor.
So
we got some people.
We got some people coming in. Hopefully they're on banner soon.
Awesome.
I'm sure you read the sign. We're talking villains, sci-fi, fantasy. We actually started. We're not gonna do too much comic book, but he brought up the Joker because Tim Burton's Joker is more of like a fantasy type Joker.
Yeah.
And I'll take a step for a second and go into Harry Potter and talk Voldemort.
Okay.
Because I mean, and actually this is good because you brought it up the other day in like a WhatsApp chat, whatever. MSK brought up Lord of the Rings, which you're going to bring up, versus Harry Potter.
Right.
Choose your franchise.
Right.
So we only have a handful of people in the audience, but if you're more Harry Potter, applaud or just give a shout out to say. Wow. Well, just me alone over here. So obviously, if you're Lord of the Rings, go ahead and give an applaud over Harry Potter. Oh wow! So you're just like neither one. Either one. So you're more sci-fi than fantasy. Like, forget all that.
Well, I recommend Lord of the Rings over Harry Potter.
Well, I would just say that Voldemort. Number one, the actor's great. So obviously, it's a great performance.
Great, yeah.
There's a lot of build up towards that villain because you really don't get a full-fledged version of him until like the fourth or fifth installment of the franchise. Great CGI, and he just really personifies an evil, dark character.
Yeah.
That I think pops up
when he does get screen time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only problem.
When he does show up.
Yeah, they really underutilize him because it's a lot of overage on Harry Potter himself. But as a film for a villain, I think he meets a lot of like awesome characteristics for a villain. He has a definite look. He got a great actor, so a great voice. He has a lot of good one-liners. He's definitely evil, personified. There's nothing redeemable about him at that point of his character.
Right.
We find out that earlier on he was abused or whatnot. But
so
go ahead.
It's not the instructional for villains?
Oh, instructional, Villain 101, like we're gonna hear.
That's later today.
Step 1, find a reason to hate everybody. Step 2, plot world domination. He's on to something. I think you are onto something. I think you're on. He's got to be real careful to keep it so fictional as possible. Because you're gonna end up on so many lists.
Step 3, monologue. He is a monologue.
It's like always. And that's what I was gonna get to. Like with Voldemort, you have monologues. It's like he's a massive monologuer, and that's the thing. The only Harry Potter that I really, really like. I don't mind watching all of them. They're good films, good CGI, good all that. But it's that Goblet of Fire one. And at the end, that's when they bring back Voldemort, and that whole scene, it's just everything, just like the way he wants to kill him and everything that he's saying, and like he's just like really like everyone, like, and all his own followers are so scared of him. Like you see, like they really regretted bringing him back, almost like, oh, we all talked about this, but now that it's happening, this is like bad. Like we forgot how controlled this guy was. So that's what, and that whole scene is like that whole villain monologue. You're now going to Lord of the Rings, which he does have his moment, the villain you're bringing up.
If I had to really pick a villain for me, my number one villain is definitely Sauron.
Yeah.
As far as the film goes, he has his moment. He's they show him, they pretty much show you what he could do, the power that he has. This guy was taking out armies, like massive armies by himself.
Yeah.
He had like barely any of those.
What's
those orcs?
Yeah, the orcs.
He had barely any of the orcs on the actual fight. I usually push myself more towards the Lord of the Rings. It's because the story itself is more my type of adventure when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't get into the whole Harry Potter thing because I was already older, and I don't think I really grew up with it.
I'm on the same boat.
I didn't read the books. I read Lord of the Rings before that, so I kind of like watching the movies actually was amazing for me. So it's almost like, I guess, what kids now are getting with The Lion King, for example. Like they never saw the cartoons, but they get to see the live action of it.
Yes.
And that's how I feel with the Lord of the Rings. But he's actually a very strong. I mean, he's almost like an archangel is what would be described in the actual books. They're so like beyond. They have these powers that are almost godlike.
Yeah.
So, and it shows in the beginning of the movie, it shows how much army he can take out by himself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until his spoiler alert, since you guys never seen it, till his fingers get cut, where the ring actually falls, is when he actually gets
vulnerable,
beat. He gets beat at that moment, but then they try to bring him back, and the whole idea. But like I said, it's my actually number one. It will be my number one
villain
of all time, and that's just for me. Like
I gotta say, Cumberbatch, which I'll be able to jump back to one of mine, then we'll give MSK a spot. Cumberbatch is Smaug in the following Lord of the Rings movie is awesome.
The Hobbit.
In the Hobbit films, which is incredible because he's doing the whole CGI thing where he's actually physically acting it out. And it's cool because we usually don't have like a talking where I think what Sean Connery and Dragonheart or whatever.
That was awesome.
Which is really good movie, but we have like actual talking dragon, and same thing with the monologues and like almost that whole scene where he's hunting him.
He says that
around.
voice too. That voice is
perfect.
Like, so intimidating.
Which is where I'm going to.
So I know where you're going, but here's a thing about Smaug is you're seeing two actors that already have worked together.
Yes.
Yeah. So that chemistry was amazing.
Which is insane. Yeah, Sherlock and
there was Sherlock.
Sherlock and Watson doing
so they had that chemistry already from the get-go, which was perfect for The Hobbit. I mean, it worked very well for it. The reason I choose, and I know I'm probably gonna be alone, is because they still have not shown us.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where I hope that the TV series is
gonna get to
show me is his one-liner or whatever you want to call it, because I really do think he will become one of those
iconic villains.
Yeah. And I tell you, reading the books was a scary character for me. Just knowing the idea of that type of what he is, of what he actually is, and what I want to see. So he's my number one as far as
coming from
villains.
From Smaug. I'm going to switch because I was talking about Smaug from Lord of the Rings, which is Cumberbatch. If someone right now, we got a sponsor, so I'm going to give him a quick plug. Ben and Johnny's On Point Barbershop, located over by IKEA, over in Sunrise. If you can guess the villain, I'm going to say now that Cumberbatch played, you're going to go ahead and get a haircut on them. If you can guess it. Anybody in the audience? Oh, this is a rough one.
That's a question again, man.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Okay, Cumberbatch.
Doctor Strange in Endgame is.
That's not a villain.
Yes, he is. He did everything.
I like the argument, but we're talking. I'm leaning more towards sci-fi.
That's a loophole.
To give more of a hint, I'm leaning towards sci-fi.
Okay.
And he reprised a role earlier played by Ricardo Montalban.
Khan.
Oh, that goes over there. So. The gentleman next to you, you're gonna have to do it. So no, he's not getting it. He's getting it.
You're getting a haircut.
He's getting it. But I'm giving out the rest away because I like the argument. So here, you get the haircut, my friend. You're getting everything else. Because I like the argument of making Doctor Strange the villain.
It's a good argument.
There's a bunch
of... just to let it go, I don't think he was going to get the haircut anyways. Right?
No, yeah, he's letting it grow. So that works out. That works out well. I like that concept. I mean, we're trying to stay away from comic book. That is pretty funny because in Infinity War, and he's got some Star Wars stuff in there, so we're going to get to some big villains there. And there's a Voldemort in there. We were just talking Voldemort from Harry Potter a second ago. So there's a few things in there. But yeah, I want to. That was funny. But yeah, Doctor Strange is the villain. It's funny because when the hero doesn't be the hero and use everything that he could and let Iron Man die. That's a hard. We'll talk about that in the MCU.
We'll bring that up.
But I'm gonna go with Khan because that's what I brought up.
Yeah.
Both versions are great. Ricardo Montalban's Khan and Yo Peace and I saw that the reboot of Into Darkness, which is the reboot of Khan, together. And I remember as soon as the scene started where Kirk was about to save the ship and go to the thing, we immediately leaned over past our wives, looked at each other and went, we looked at each other, they're swapping it, and now the one who's gonna die is Kirk, and I was already excited for Spock's gonna fight Khan, which makes way more sense. I get it, you wanted to take the two powerhouse actors the first time, which is Ricardo Montalban and Kirk, and then make Kirk, of course, the badass, and have them go at it. And Montalban's a great Khan in the series as well as the film. So I mean, Cumberbatch had a lot of big shoes to follow. But his version is different. But the Spock Khan fight makes a lot more sense, way more entertaining, and then to see both of them do their own version of Khan.
It also shows Spock's
excellent.
emotion, because
Yes.
Spock's not supposed to show emotion,
which is very
that
different.
brought it out of him,
Because Spock's death in the first timeline, he controlled himself and sacrificed himself and wasn't afraid of death. Yet for someone else's death, which is so incredible, he couldn't maintain his emotion for someone who's a brother to him. So it was so smart
and
to give us two versions of the same story.
Yeah. It was also smart because he was affected by his mother's death in the first movie, that he didn't really get it out there. Once Kirk dies, it's like, okay, another death. He went.
And they're both excellent sci-fi villains. The original, he has his moment where he has his cause, and where he puts the things in their ears and for Chekhov or whatever at the beginning. Yeah. And just everything about the way we recorded the multiple and played him in the series and the movie was great. And then the Cumberbatch one, he has his monologues, his moment. The part where he kills RoboCop.
Yeah.
And he's always gonna be RoboCop. Yeah, and then RoboCop. Anyway, he's crushing his skull in front of you should have let me sleep. Just all that's this is a villain.
So which one do you like? Which version do you like better?
If I have to choose between the two, that's hard. That's hard. And the only reason I would say the newer one is because I liked seeing Spock versus Khan more than Kirk versus Khan. Nothing to do with the actors, just the characters. That the character of Spock versus Khan. Yeah, exactly. And that gave me. I just feel that we had a different look of who Khan was and what motivated him versus before. It was almost the same thing, but there was a lot more of a flip from selfishness to a belief of superiority that just total villain, just total iconic, checklist villain, the Cumberbatch version. So I just feel, again, because we go into the 80s stuff, and it's just we were talking about earlier, Hans Gruber, there's a lot of stereotypical things that they do. Even in sci-fi, they can't help themselves. Yeah. But, so that's why I go, MSK throw one out. Me and Yopis have been...
Oh, okay. I'm going to throw a very iconic one, I think, and you guys are probably going to guess what it is, but I'm going to throw out the T-800 from the first Terminator movie.
Okay, nice.
Because that really not only made Arnold Schwarzenegger's career, but that movie isn't really an action-packed sci-fi movie like the second movie. It's more like a horror.
It's more of a horror.
It's more of a horror movie, like a sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah, like Alien was. That whole James Caan.
And it's very, very part of its time. You see that movie and it's like, okay, that's from the 80s. Yeah, I don't know.
Something blew up. I thought one of our chairs in here blew up. I thought one of our chairs in here blew up.
Hard, but T-800's coming in here.
The T-1000.
For Come With Me.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
It was very horror movie about it. Yeah, his presence, as soon as he walks in the room.
Yeah, it was the Michael Myers, just straight on target. Anything that gets in his way.
Always just walking.
Yeah,
just slowly walking.
And it's
and the regular humans tripping over.
Yeah. And he since he looks human, everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, it's a great. And I know you're buying it up because of Stranger Things.
No, it's just.
I think it's fresh on the mind because of the Russian in Stranger Things.
Which is a good.
That's exactly what they were doing.
That's what they did great in Stranger Things, especially this third season. They had a couple of different genres in it.
No, that's a great one because right at the beginning with the Bill Paxton scene.
Yeah,
where he
kills those guys, when he arrives, with that lightning bolt and.
Speaking of which, we brought that up before, but that's always fun to share since we're talking villains of sci-fi. Bill Paxton, the only guy to be killed by a predator, an alien, and a Terminator.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
They killed by all three of the bigs: Predator, a Xenomorph, and
And he was a great
vampire.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
Yeah, but
Terminator.
The T-800, the Terminator is. That's a classic villain.
That's
I think
great.
It's like one of the top fives.
And he personifies a class of villain. The hunting, not full of words, not much monologue. There is no negotiating. There's no getting in his head.
There's no.
Why is he doing this? Can I outsmart? No, this one track mind.
Go ahead. At the beginning of Winter Soldier.
Yes.
So intense.
Yes.
He has the best entry to any character.
And I'll tell you right now, that theme music they use for him, because MSK is a big guy who's about soundtracks and scores, whatever. Dun 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 dun. And, the original, because then it became more actiony. Come the second film, but then the same thing with that scream with the Winter Soldier. Which we're not going to talk too much about comic book, but yes, that's
we'll talk about that during
that classification, 100% on, where it's just that nonstop focused. Hunter, I'm after you. There's no outsmarting me. There's no odds are you can't out physically. No physicality. You're gonna be able to out.
There's no way you're gonna beat the Terminator.
It's just run. There's no fight and flight. Just flight, and maybe you could figure out a way to fight. Yeah, go ahead.
basically.
Pretty much, and then brought it to the sci-fi universe.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what's so smart about that, because that's basically what Alien did with the xenomorph. And with the first Alien, Aliens was multiple of them. Then it felt more of an action because it's that the hero versus multiple, and where the first one's that one is hunting you nonstop, and you can't out physical this thing, you can't outsmart it, you can't negotiate with it. It is that class. So James Cameron is big on that. Where the Predator actually takes a little bit of a step away because they are hunters, but they have they don't have like a specific reason. In other words, they're just hunting to hunt. They want their prey, but they're not overly fixated.
They also like the sport.
Yeah.
In other words, in Predator, they really want the person that they're pursuing to actually give them
a trophy.
A fight.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but in the beginning of that movie, you really don't know it.
You don't know. You don't know.
Right.
And I got to bring up crazy because Yopies had brought this up before in our retro 80s action film episode about the original Predator, which is awesome. And he brought up was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Right.
But he didn't want to do it because he had to be in a costume the whole time. He thought people were going to see his face. He could show off his martial arts and start trying to become one of the big action 80s guys. But what's funny is also the costume. On YouTube, check it out when you get the chance.
It's true.
What it looked like, because it wasn't just that. No. The Predator looked horrible. Yeah. The first version of the Predator was so bad that we cannot make this movie. Make it and when they took pictures of him, they sent it away. And actually, it was good that he ended up not doing it because I think Jean-Claude Van Damme he's one of our 80s heroes. But there's no way the guy that they got was like 6'3", who's a great actor, and then that the Rasta look with the dreads and the hunt. I mean, everything about that became what's a staple
it's iconic.
of the Predator.
It's iconic.
And iconic.
Yeah,
and
iconic.
Again, same thing, fixating in that one track mind. Like I'm gonna hurt you. But like she said in our audience that. The good thing is cool is that he does want to fight though. That's the difference. Terminator wants to end you as quick as possible.
He just wants to get his mission
whatever
done
he's gonna get done. And
and
it's the same thing with the Xenomorph, who wants to eat you and turn you into one of them. But he's like, no. The more of a hunt you give me, the better. So he actually enjoys the fight, the task. So actually we get extra villains out of that.
And even can respect the actual
He said, you guys seen Mortal Engines? Because they have an antagonist who's similar to...
Oh, no, I haven't seen
that. No,
but
is that the one, is it the actor that plays Agent Smith? Is he the villain or...
No,
I haven't seen it yet.
It's called Strike. It's like this undead cyborg.
Oh, okay.
She chases the main character around and just says her name over and over. But you actually do find out there's a reason he's trying to get her.
That's pretty interesting.
That's cool.
So I like that.
You had another one, Yopi, that you could bring up that's very...
Well, you just mentioned it. It's Agent Smith of
the Matrix. That's
the Matrix.
Talk about monologuing.
I mean,
talk about monologuing.
Mr.
Anderson.
I can almost taste
the sweat. Yeah, when he takes the sweat drop off,
and then he puts it right up his nose. Like,
and he unplugs. That's awesome. And that's which leads into we don't really talk about the sequels and about the Matrix, but what leads into that he's a break. He's he's the anti-Neo, which is that whole thing is that he breaks from the rest of them where he has an emotion, he has a hate. The rest of them are the Terminator, the Predator. They're single set program, just destroy. Where he actually has
a reason. He wants to get out of that.
He just actually
wants to get out of that program.
Yeah, and the actor's great, which he's been Lord of the Rings, and Red Skull.
We won't put that.
The first Red Skull.
We won't put that in.
No, but Agent Smith was awesome.
Villain.
Yeah, no, there is.
Lecter.
There is. Oh, Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, we're not doing horrors though. But he is. Yeah, come on, Silence of the Lambs is a horror. But
horror,
thriller. But there's such a great thing about those monologues that he has.
I would never forget that monologue.
That one, the one Morpheus.
That is
the Morpheus monologue.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, that's one.
No, even the first one when he has him in the interrogation room and everything just.
Morpheus, the interrogation.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there's the first one where he.
First time he meets Neo and he's just in that room.
Yeah, in the room where he takes him out of the office.
In one life, you're like.
It is.
Yeah.
You're
and he just has this voice.
They reboot it because they're doing a weird prequel now.
They want to do a prequel of Morpheus.
Because they were going to reboot it at first. It's like
no, you can't. Especially not the first one. It's just it's fantastic. Going into that.
The only thing I could agree to that is if they do like the second Renaissance, a prequel to that era, like they did in the Animatrix, then that would be cool. But anything else?
Because that was the seventh one or the seventh time they had gone through the whole.
They
said there was on
the second Renaissance was the story of how everything turned out, like how they destroyed the sun and blocked the sun, and how the machines took over. So that would be a cool prequel.
Yeah, because they always can get into another version in their story. They set that up for another Neo because they said he wasn't the
first that's like Neo. I don't know what they did with the sequels, but we're not going to talk about that.
Those are fan films.
Exactly.
Going back to the...
20 years for them?
I'm sorry, was it? Yeah, I know.
20 years?
I will bring up
20 years.
Yeah, they're going to take forever. I mean,
it's been about 20 years already since the last movie.
In March of 99.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, so So we're talking about, 20 years.
Iconic. That Agent Smith is iconic.
The first Matrix still hasn't been released.
No. Yeah, the other two couldn't touch that.
The first movie is so great, though.
It is. Especially because most films, we've talked about this before, to get the twist in the middle of the movie as opposed to the end, and just watching the rest of the movie, and it's a double genius because you have this movie's like we talk about and the Fast and the Furious. For anybody Latin here, we call it paquete, which is like BS, like that can't happen. And you're watching this movie, it's like, come on, man, they're like freezing and they're running up walls and like, are they superheroes? What's going on here? Then you get the twist, and you're like, okay, that twist is awesome, and now that explains everything. You know what I mean? It's not the real world, and they know it, so they can do all this awesome stuff.
The Lego movie did every time.
Pretty much.
Freaking awesome.
To bring up
that movie to my kids for the first time.
What, The Matrix, the first one?
Yeah.
Oh,
how was
did
the
they
kid?
like it?
It held up pretty well. He enjoyed it, and the thing I was worried about, I was like, I haven't seen this in so long.
Yeah.
I don't remember how violent it is because I tried to show him if it's too, but it's not.
It's not.
Not overly.
It's a pretty light R.
The second two.
14 guys. That's good age.
Yeah,
14's perfect.
Yeah,
that's actually around the age when I saw it.
Yeah,
so.
I saw it, 99.
Yeah, I saw it in 99. I was graduating high school, so it was mind blowing. I remember seeing the theater with my friends at that moment when he wakes up in the pod.
Yeah.
And I was a friend of mine. He just went, "Oh man, it's all a fake world." I mean, he was saying it out loud. I was like, "This is so cool."
No, and like what that movie did for like Hollywood.
Oh no, and special effects.
CGI
that's one of the films that was groundbreaking.
Like every summer movie after that did the whole Matrix.
They
tried. Yeah, they tried to.
I mean, they are a pioneer in that.
Of course.
With those slow characters.
So Agent Smith, great villain. We're so off topic. Agent Smith was a great villain for the Matrix. I'm gonna bring up one real quick that I know I will get MSK talking about it because I'll go retro and it's good for special effects because it's Spielberg. And again, talking about iconic certain types of villains, and I'm gonna go with the '80s one that he's a type, the comedic villain, which is Biff. Back to the Future. And it's like every movie in and out, future version, past version, western version. Yeah, I mean it's sci-fi.
It's like one of my villains.
Yeah. Oh, that was one of you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm bringing it up so MSK can take it away. I mean, why is Biff on your list?
Biff is just a classic like bully type villain to Marty. Like it's just he has everything that you would hate in a person. Like he's just annoying. Like you see him, you're just like I don't want to deal with this guy. Like get away from me. And like when you're watching that movie and you see how Marty is and how George is, especially because he's like this nerdy kid and he's getting picked on by this guy that thinks he's like tough and everything. Like you just see how annoying he is. Like he just gets under your skin. It's just like, all right, man, shut up. Like, which is great at the end because when George punches him, it's just like awesome. No, the nerdy guy wins, you know.
And it's the great the psychological depth of thinking how like every Biff hates himself actually. Yeah. Because they always pick on the younger Biff of them. Like, they fly. Like, you know what I mean? Like they always they have no respect for the younger version of them.
Every generation they show of Biff is who he like.
That's his family trait.
That's where they always are.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like that's what he was. Like there's no changing.
No.
Yeah.
Like.
No, and then they have no respect for one another. That's
they don't like each other.
No respect for one another.
He doesn't like any of them. Like he just doesn't like the younger him. Like he doesn't like.
Well, he's so filled with self-contempt. You can tell.
Yeah, especially the older.
He hates others because he hates himself so much in that way. But I think the beauty of it also is that you see the way that the people that are trying to kind of fight him or just survive him in one way, and they try so many different ways of just avoiding it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like in real life that when you have somebody like that and they're coming for you, they make it almost like a sport or a game.
Yeah, it's an
and the
obstacle.
more you try to ignore it, the more aggressive they become. Right?
Yeah. It's like classic bullying.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, and that's what it is. It's an 80s movie, and that's what's cool about it because, Spielberg comes along and takes, which he did in E.T., and he does a lot of his films, he takes, elements from films at the time to put them in sci-fi, and that's what it was. We were having all the 80s films, I'm going real retro because these were little kids, but we start talking about the classic high school bullies and all, the 80s movies and Pretty in Pink. So, I mean, anything you bring up, half the Molly Ringwald ones, that's what Biff is. He's the 80s bully, but then they put him in a sci-fi so they could play with that. You know what I mean? And bring it up. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say it brings it right back to Bill Paxton, Weird Science.
Yes, Bill Paxton, Weird Science. Perfect. Well, what a great villain.
That's a great comparison.
That is
pretty much the same guy. He's making fun of his little brother and his friends, making like
picking on them,
picking on him.
That's a great Bill Paxton. That's a great Bill Paxton right there. What was his name? Chet.
He turns into
Biff.
thing.
Chet. It's the same thing. Like one of those easy spit out names. That's a great comparison.
Bullying.
I love that. You know, you wanna. I don't know if we have anyone that will enjoy it, but here's a little prize pack, some pencils. That's a great. I appreciate that. Thank you. And before we go into more villains, one more shout out to our sponsor, benandjohnny's.com, and ours is fanaticallycorrect.com. If your piece wants to throw some out for the podcast, that's it. Fanaticallycorrect.com. You find keeping it simple. These tech geniuses. We don't need to give all the other stuff.
So going back into that retro, you brought up.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking the Karate Kid.
Yes.
Johnny.
Yes.
Right?
Johnny. Okay.
But I just
not sci-fi, but okay.
But then I know, but I'm just thinking of
the twist.
The twist that they actually did with the.
Now he's the hero. Hero-ish.
Well, there you go. There's the twist.
You just spoiled that.
There's the twist.
You just spoiled that.
Now I gotta re-edit that again. It's like the third episode. He's done this.
They pretty much have made him likable. I wouldn't say the hero. He's not the hero.
No, he's not. He's a flawed person.
He's very flawed. And in the new YouTube
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. He's not a hero. He's likable, but he's still.
And he's still the same guy.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, here's the thing. I'll be fair.
Almost.
Here's the thing. If you watched Back to the Future, but then you got Biff's perspective.
Yeah,
that's what happens. That's what it is. That's what happens. And then you start, understanding. Usually, that is an actual real life bully trait. There's things that made him a bully. Usually, people don't just wake up and like, I'm just gonna pick on people. Usually, there's exactly.
Grandma that was like
exactly. And there's something more to it. There's it's a recycling of abuse or a rotation of it. So then you start seeing perspectives of it because in fairness, he's for sure the bully because he takes things too far. But that's just one example. You watch a Karate Kid, if he's telling his story, guy stole my girlfriend. And that was like a big 80s thing. And they love to do it in the 80s. You always make the current boyfriend a total jerk, so everyone's okay that the hero stole the guy's girlfriend. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we were on a break, and then like they broke up, he's no longer my boyfriend, and I'm hooking. They always did that. It was a big 80s thing. And in the early 90s did it too with a lot of movies. Like make the boyfriend a bully, a jerk, and they go, what was that one? The Tim Burton one. Talk about villains, another 80s bully, which is funny because he was always the nerd, Weird Science, Anthony Michael Hall, and Edward Scissorhands. So it's funny because he was being bullied in Weird Science, then all of a sudden he, I don't know, he took steroids or what he did.
He bulks up.
He becomes the bully, but it's the same thing. That's currently his girlfriend. The guy's a total jerk, so then we make it okay. Hey, the hero stole the guy's girl, but the guy had it coming.
It's that Ant-Man, but they changed it because the boyfriend becomes a cool guy by the end of it.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy's a jerk.
Well, and what they did, and actually, like in Stranger Things, bringing up which is Steve's like our favorite character now. You know what I mean? But at the beginning, he was the bully.
You go through someone's nerves in season 1. Like, this is my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. But halfway through season 1, you hate the guy until you see that he's not a bad guy.
Now he's like one of the top characters.
He is. But I mean, that's a whole other story. He really totally did a turnaround and became a better person. Exactly.
Exactly. Video that shows like, here's why Johnny is the true hero of Karate Kid.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to. Someone hasn't caught up on Cobra Kai.
No, this was before Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay. So someone already had that concept.
Someone had a video.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
That said, here's why Johnny is the actual hero of Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And shows all the things that Daniel does.
Yes, exactly.
If you Google that, you'll watch. It's the best video.
Well, I'll throw crazy another. It's kind of if you look back and watch like Looney Tunes right now, Bugs Bunny is like.
He's not a hero.
He's not a hero at all. Bugs Bunny's the villain. He starts with everybody.
Bugs Bunny never messes with anybody who doesn't start it first.
Oh, okay. He shot a guy for coughing in the audience.
He just walks up and annoys people.
Exactly.
Hey, what's up, Doc?
Hello, Luca. He's looking for it.
He's all the time.
He's out walking around. Yeah. He didn't take a wrong turn at Albuquerque. He's fishing for someone to annoy. And then that's it. And then the whole thing is about.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Real life internet troll.
Yeah, pretty much. He is.
You know, it's a good one since you guys were talking 80s, and since you're talking Back to the Future.
Go ahead.
Judge Doom.
Oh,
yes! Oh, Doc, yeah, that's right. Christopher Lloyd.
What's awesome about that movie is the animation, I guess.
Turns into the cartoon.
Yes. Turns into the cartoon and everything. That's a genius.
That's great. You know, he gets all like high pitch and crazy eyes. That's a good man. Roger Rabbit. That's great.
Same director.
Yeah. And same thing. What Bugs Bunny, which is funny because that's not common for Mickey Mouse.
No.
Was part of that when the whole falling from the building scene, and then Bugs gives him the wrong parachute and all that, and then they put me like, okay, that's out of character for Mickey. That's out of character for Mickey. For Bugs, that's who he is. This poor guy's the good guy's the hero of the movie, and Bugs is messing with him like he can't help himself. He's a little bit there. That's a good one. You have one?
Trevor Goodchild. From Aeon Flux.
Oh, Aeon Flux.
So good.
Yeah, not the movie though.
No. The anime, the MTV Liquid Television anime.
I actually like the movie overall, but him, no.
Yeah,
no, the movie was really
that's
bad.
a good villain. I mean, there's so many like classics that go in there.
Aeon Flux is great.
I mean,
I'm thinking of an actor,
but not the villain.
Well, no, he's a villain in this role, which was Gary Oldman in The Professional. That he's the dirty cop.
Sci-fi and fantasy, sir.
Oh,
okay, so then I'll give
you went Hans Gruber first to start the show.
The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element. There you go. The actor. Well, and then hold on a second, everyone. Respect to Gary. That's like one of our favorite actors of all time. When you talk about Chameleon, hands down. There's nothing that guy. I think there's movies that he doesn't take credit for, and we don't know it's him. Because for the longest time, so he like aged out and started kind of physically looking like the same person all the time. We started doing Commissioner Gordon, but for the longest time, what did he look like? Bram Stoker's Dracula, is incredible. But Fifth Element, sci-fi, which again, he's the Biff because he's the comedic villain.
But he does that weird accent in that movie.
He don't act almost like a southern
accent. Every single role he does, he gives you something. He gives you something
different. Something different. Yeah. So actually, that's a good bring up because he's done a lot of other sci-fi. I mean, Bram Stoker's Dracula is horror, but same thing he's doing. The old version and the younger version.
He's good at villains.
You got another one?
Okay, since I'm Harry Potter themed,
I brought a Voldemort at the beginning.
The first Umbridge.
Yes.
Oh yes. That's a very different villain, man.
She's worse than Voldemort because she's doing
She's the bully.
Yeah, she is. She's the Biff of Harry Potter.
That's the one that's dressed all nice.
All pink. That everything's pink, and she's doing everything pink, which is funny because that's like but it's actually kind of a clever. I mean, going back to Harry Potter for a second, that's actually pretty clever of that storyline because you usually don't have a villain like try to be so cute.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where she's everything like puffy and pink and cute, and she's like just like which we know about people. You know what I mean? Like nah, man, that person's bad.
Hunger Games kind of did it, but later on, I think her name's Elsie became not so bad.
Oh yeah.
Originally, she was kind of like
the one that was like the crazy one, and she ended up being. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah. But she's a great actress. Yeah. She's done other stuff. Yeah, Hungry. Wow, man, look at that. Okay, I'm gonna side note. Is that who I think it is? Wow, we got some great Transformer cosplay.
No, that was a Gundam.
That was a Gundam. That was Gundam. Oh, sick! I couldn't tell. I thought it was a Decepticon from here. That is awesome.
Oh, look, Decepticon. We could bring up
Transformers. What's his name? Megatron.
Yeah,
Megatron.
Yeah, he's awesome. Especially at Universal Studios.
That thing's awesome. I have Megatron for never just shooting Starscream the first time he betrayed him.
Yeah.
True.
But that was
yeah, he's a good villain too. Starscream's a great villain.
But he's not a villain. He's an opportunist.
He's like a
he's an opportunist.
That's what makes him a great villain. A villain of opportunity.
That's how you gotta do.
A villain of opportunity.
That makes him a smart villain.
Smart villain.
He's like one of those Weasley.
Yeah. The Weasel. That's always a good one, man.
I like Soundwave because he just looks cool.
I know it's not sci-fi, but have you seen Salt?
Saw. Yeah, Saw. The only Saw movie I liked was the first one.
Oh, that's me too.
That's the
I'm on your first guy. It's a rough franchise. The first one's good.
What's wrong with the other one?
I think Saw lost.
It got predictable.
It just lost its.
Yeah, it got gimmicky. It got gimmicky.
Yeah, it was
because
like
every movie.
I think
it's a formula.
I think the first one and maybe the second one had it. They still had that.
Yeah, it still had that element to it.
It was more about the gore instead of like the mind psychological part of it, which is what I enjoyed. It was more of a psychological.
No, but I mean, I get what's happening because the same thing that people enjoy the Final Destination franchise and follow that all the way down. It's like the final destination. No, this time for real, the final destination. Like it just kept, But it's the same thing with Fast and Furious.
That was a loss.
That was I mean, they're rebooting both of them now.
It's one of the greater villains with regard to Doctor Who.
To Doctor Who? How did you go? Sci-fi. Obviously, it's gonna be the Master.
Or the dialects.
Oh yes, no, the Weeping Angels.
The dialects.
The Weeping Angels is a good one.
Speaking of
that's a good. I love it. To describe his shirt.
I think Weeping Angels will be the scariest thing.
It is. That is creepy. That you can't sleep. You just kind of got to stare at it the whole time.
Blinking. Go like 2 minutes without blinking.
Nothing. Never story.
Oh yes! That's a great one.
Right there.
Yeah, but the Nothing is the one that killed that horse.
You love that movie.
I hate him. That poor horse.
Again,
he was traumatized.
I'm going on record. I really think that horse got killed.
He thinks they filmed that in another country.
It just kept coming.
Peter wasn't active.
That was the first movie. The movie right after that was the first one that says, "Hey, no animals were endangered."
Speaking of that one, and we brought that one before. Tim Curry as the Darkness in Legend.
Yes.
The big demon with the horns. Tim Curry's another. He's the original Gary Oldman. You know what I mean? Like
that's another actor that I feel like we feel like he's like beyond. He always changed it up and gave you.
He's one of the first comedians because he went from The Clown to It to Frankenfurter and Rocky Horror Picture Show to I love Clue.
I love
Clue. He's great. And like Tim Curry, just like that guy could take any role. I don't know why he didn't take more roles. I mean, he should have the same list that Gary Oldman has because he has incredible range. So I mean, I don't know why he picks less projects or what.
Well, he's a lot older now. He's
now that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying during his time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying now. But I'm saying when he was much younger during those times when he did Clue and he should have been spinning out 4 or 5 movies a year easily. I mean, especially because he always does like the smaller. He's a good character. And he usually when he did the villains is like the smaller like It when he played the clown. How many scenes did he really have? Rocky Horror. He's Frankenfurter. But the guy's a great. But the Darkness in Legend. When you take if you take that out of Legend. That's a garbage movie. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like everything else is okay because that's in it too. Right. So it makes everything was tolerable. But if that didn't have him in there and that villain in there, the rest of the movie be like, this is Willow. Like this is like barely Willow. Like
When the village takes over and the light disappears.
Yes. Everything about him. And his talk about monologues. All his scenes are monologues. Same thing. That's all. All his the villainous monologue. And he only has one scene with the hero. You know what I mean? At the end when they actually take each other on. Which was that?
Roy Batty.
I was gonna bring that up. He just passed away.
He just passed away. So I think he's a great actor.
His monologue at the end is just iconic.
Rutger Hauer. Yeah, he's a great actor. I mean, I was talking about The Hitcher. Which I don't know. Have either one of you seen that movie?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, I put that up. On the Instagram, everybody was automatically showing, of course, Blade Runner, which is like one of his most sci-fi iconic roles. Yeah. But I brought up The Hitcher as a horror because I remember I saw that as a kid, and just like there's scenes, and I don't want to ruin for it because that's a movie people should watch. If you haven't, go back and watch it. If they rebooted it, no, I'm not going to ruin it. Yeah. But they did something in that movie where even to this day, you don't see it happen in the horror movies, and I was like, wow, especially for that time, they do something to the main hero that the villain does that is like you don't expect it because usually the hero always wins 100%, and that's basically not the case in this. Yeah. But it's good. Oh, they did?
The new version.
It's okay. It's not the same thing. It's not as good. It's really good.
Well, you're talking about Legend, but. Labyrinth. Is the Labyrinth King the villain?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, David Bowie. That's another one. I guess we're going to bring up everyone who's passed away within the past couple of years. Yeah. But that's a great villain. Jared, right? His name is Jared.
Yeah.
Jared. Yeah, Jared. Yeah. And he's awesome. That's a good villain. But he's the same thing where it's exactly that's the whole thing. He's like he's the antagonist, but he's not 100%.
He's just Bugs
a villain. Well, I mean,
it's almost as if it's like she actually. It's almost like you can kind of understand him being a villain, but you don't see him as such a bad villain because
he's likable.
Him.
No, and
he goes into his world.
And he's likable.
His.
He's likable to the people that he has in cages and prisons and stuff like that. Not so much, but as a villain, he has a likable personality.
I think it's because it's David Bowie. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They give you a persona villain that
if Tim Curry played that role, it would be different.
Okay, we're getting to the 15-minute mark.
Wait. Before that, I got one for you.
Go.
Captain Barbosa.
Yes, from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my God, he's so good.
Yes, Barbosa.
He's the best character. I feel he's the best
out of all of them. Even though Davy Jones is really good. Davy Jones is really good, but Barbosa takes.
And he's consistently good in even the bad movies. He's still good.
But even though he's not the villain anymore, by the time he gets to the end,
well, they changed him because I mean, he was a likable character. Yeah.
Disney does that.
Yeah.
Disney doesn't.
Yeah, they like to turn the bad guy to. We'll take one more from the audience before.
I'm gonna bring up.
Go ahead.
One old one again. Another actor who becomes his part. You'll probably agree. My favorite movie of all time, Highlander.
Yes, that's it. That's it. So MSK is not able to bring up any of his own, but go ahead. That's yours.
We do this thing that we recommend a necessity at the end of the show.
Well, now's a good time to do it. So do it.
So since it's the end, I was gonna bring up the Kurgan.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Kurgan is just metal, like heavy metal. Badass, there's no kids here? Okay. Badass, like, villain. Like, you see him, he's like, alright, that guy's gonna kill me.
He's a rock and roll villain, man.
Yeah. Pure rock and roll. Pure rock and roll. And, I mean, there's...
That's great.
That's great. That's another guy that's really, like, an underrated actor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 9 out of 10 times he plays the villain.
He's, like, now does, like, voiceover.
He does the voice,
He's great for that.
He does the
Crab, and he's, Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Also,
also on the Goldbergs and the spin-offs.
Yeah.
They did a homage.
They did a whole, I remember that, yeah.
At the end of every episode, we do necessity, which is something we recommend that you need to see if you're a nerd and like us and from the nerdverse. So that's what he's bringing up. Obviously, I guess Highlander is your...
Yeah, I think that was going to be my necessity. As a movie itself, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm more of a fan of the actual show.
The series.
But
there's no villain in the series that reflects this villain.
There's a couple of good villains in the series, but the Kurgan is like the main.
The Kurgan is awesome.
The main guy. And what makes the Kurgan great is that he kills. Spoiler alert: him and Connor have history together, and he kills someone very dear to Connor, and then he just chases after him at the end because they're closing in on the
quickening.
The prize, they're the last couple of immortals left, so it's gonna end up being him against.
There can be only
Connor against the Kurgan, and it's just perfect. It's good versus evil.
It's such a great setup for it.
I saw it last year, like the first time I'd ever seen it.
Wow,
the final battle was just
great.
Amazing.
It's great.
It's very cool.
No, and all the build up too, because it's as it is, you already have an easy a setup for just the main bad guy versus the main good guy, but then there's a big personal.
There's a personal thing going on there.
Yeah,
and then, like you said, all the special effects at the end still holds up with the quickening and the lightning and everything. I find
so. Anybody listening to this podcast, anybody in the audience, I think everyone in this audience has. If you haven't seen Highlander, you got to see.
Yeah, you got to watch at least the first one, and then the other one.
Good job. It's always good.
Thank you very much.
And I would recommend the series also because the series.
It's great, Duncan MacLeod.
Yeah, Duncan MacLeod.
So unfortunately, we're getting to wrap it up, guys, for the next panel. So thank you again, audience. We got a 3:30 panel in the main theater. Show up a little early because I'm Monica Man. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And so that's his Omega saying peace.
MSK, peace out.
Yo, peace. Meet us.
And there you have it, folks. This has been Fanatically Correct. Until next time, you crazy kids. Signing off.